Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I am going to be doing an NFL free agency prediction-esque style video. The reason I say it like that is because I'm not going to be going over every single free agent. I just kind of have a list of some bigger names I want to go over, and I might even predict a few trades in this video as well. Couple of plugs before we hop right into it. Don't forget to use code Wyatt's World on G Fuel, Waggle Golf, or Prize Picks. By using my codes on G Fuel or Waggle, you'll save a discount on any of their products, and by using it at sign up on Prize Picks, you are going to guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 entry. But remember to always play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Okay, so quick disclaimer before we start this video. I just want to let everybody know I'm still working my way back into the NFL scene of everything, and what I mean by that is I'm still not completely immersed into the world of football like I once was, meaning if I say a stupid prediction in here that's already been determined to not happen, I apologize. Like I've said, I'm just taking this one step at a time. So starting off this prediction video, I'm going to start with what I consider one of the biggest names, for some reason still one of the biggest names, and that is none other than Aaron Rodgers. Now I know I kind of made this same prediction in a previous Reddit video, but if you're asking me, Aaron Rodgers is going to one team and one team only, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't expect him to make that decision until the literal last second because it's Aaron Rodgers. He needs to have as much attention as he can have all offseason. But I feel like this is the true destination for him, just looking at the team, looking at the coach, looking at the entire organization. It seems like a Rodgers move to me. Not only are the Steelers a prestigious organization, but they have a very well-respected head coach in Mike Tomlin, who I think would connect with Rodgers very well. I think there's already a pretty big mutual respect between the two. And then also you've got the team that really hasn't been that far away from being a championship contender in recent years. So that just adds all the more incentive to make a 40-year-old man want to go there and try and finish out his remaining years. To be totally honest, I don't think Rodgers has that many options anyway. Like, as crazy as it sounds, well, it's rightfully so, not a lot of teams want this guy anymore. And especially not the Minnesota fucking Vikings. Next up, I am expecting a trade here, and that is none other than Myles Garrett, who wants his way out of Cleveland. And I have him going to two different teams, both of them being in the NFC. One of them is a fantasy, one of them is more than likely what I consider a reality. So, the team I think is a fantasy for Myles Garrett is the Minnesota Vikings. That would be amazing. He would thrive with Brian Flores. He would thrive behind a winning team because as long as we have KOC here, we're gonna be a winning team. It's just, do the Vikings have as big of a chance as the other team? And that's the one I think is a reality, and the answer is no. I do not think the Vikings are closer to winning a championship than the Washington Commanders right now. Crazy to say that, I know I was really wrong on them last year, but this would be an amazing spot for Myles Garrett to go. They are contenders. Dan Quinn's defense would be a perfect fucking fit for him. This organization's red hot. All eyes are on them. He has a chance to go be part of something really special, and if he has any say in it, I think the Washington Commanders is where Myles Garrett's gonna play. Moving back to free agency now, we have one of, if not the biggest offensive names in free agency, and that is T. Higgins from the Bengals. Is this year finally going to be the year that he is broken off of his shackles and he can run loose and be that number one he has aspired to be since joining the league? Will this be the year we see him with Bryce Young or Drake May? No, I don't think so at all. I think this is going to be a repeat of last year. They're going to franchise tag him and he's going to fucking deal with it. They're going to have to pay Jamar. I do not imagine he will play next season without being paid because he still technically is under contract as far as I'm concerned, and they also need to do something about Trey Hendrickson, who also has a year left, but they're gonna need to keep him around as well. Therefore, I don't see them making a deal with T. Higgins. I see them slapping the tag on him. I see them sticking to their guns, not getting rid of him, and he has a choice of either playing or not playing at all. It kind of sucks for T because he is one of those players who could absolutely change an organization in the best way possible, but he is also too good to the point where teams just can't part ways with him. Now moving on, we have another quarterback, and it is Sam Darnold, the man who just came off of a career revival. I've had two landing spots for him for a while now, and I'm sticking to one of them. So the first one was the Raiders, and I still think he could go there. I think with Pete Carroll, they'll be run a lot better. He could be a decent quarterback there, but that wouldn't be his best spot. I think the best spot in all of football right now for Sam Darnold to go is the New York Giants. Now, they need to bring him in with the impression, hey, you're probably not going to be a long-term thing. We'll bring you in as a bridge, and if you're good, you'll continue to play, but but we will draft somebody to try and, be our long-term future. However, if Sam is fine with that, this is where he will thrive the most because I think Daboll is the perfect fit for him. Brian Daboll is a quarterback whisperer. He was great with Tyrod Taylor. He was great with Josh Allen. He turned Daniel Jones into a playoff quarterback. This guy has gotten serviceable performances out of Tommy DeVito. This guy has also just given Drew Lock one of his best passing performances ever as a professional quarterback. If there is anybody in this league who can get in the head of Sam Darnold and continue to make him, a usable starting quarterback, it is Brian Daboll. Sam Darnold, I'm thankful for the year you gave us in Minnesota. I'm sorry for being so critical on you, and if you ever do see this, which you won't, I'm telling you, Dabes is the guy to go to. Moving on, we have another quarterback, and this time it is none other than Justin Fields, a name that some people might not view as a bigger name, but I think he has a chance to be a bigger name if he goes to one specific organization. I'm not kidding you, dude. I think this is a team that should have drafted Justin Fields in the first place, and I think this is a team that he would have thrived on from the very beginning because of his mobility. And I do understand an offensive line is going to be needed for this to work, but if I was Justin Fields, I would want to go to the fucking Jets. If he goes there and works out as a functionable quarterback, that offense will ball. They've got all the tools there besides, a really solid offensive line to be a really good team, and as of now, they still have Devontae Adams. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Tyrod Taylor, and I don't want to take anything away from Jordan Travis, who I actually think could be good, but worst case scenario, bring Fields in, sign him for a couple bucks, and have him compete. I would love to see Justin Fields on the Jets. Now moving on, we have Stefon Diggs. Dallas. He's going to Dallas. I'll bet anything on that he's going to Dallas. That's been his plan the entire time. He wants to go play with his brother. If I was any other team too, I would just let him go to Dallas because you don't want him to sit on your team and piss and moan. You don't want to deal with that. He'd be a nice addition to CD, a nice upgrade from Brandon Cooks. And if he stayed healthy, they genuinely could work out there too. And I also want to say I've heard rumors about Diggs going to Green Bay. That isn't going to happen because I don't think Green Bay is that dumb. You need an elite receiver who is going to be either entering the prime or in the prime of their career, not someone who will be 32 in the middle of next season, freshly off of a torn ACL. Now moving on, we have Dre Greenlaw, the Lions. I'm dead set on that one too. I think he's gonna go to the Lions. And I'm not gonna lie, an article I read heavily influenced this because it makes too much sense. Lions defense, already scary enough the way it is. Adding Dre Greenlaw in there, gonna make him even more menacing. However, Anzalone, the linebacker with the luscious locks on Detroit, he's on the last year of his contract, so this could also be a prove-it contract year for Dre Greenlaw if he wants to stay on Detroit for a long time to come. The Lions last year had one of the best chances to win a Super Bowl other than their coordinators going into next season. Roster-wise, I still think they're set. Dre Greenlaw could go be a wonderful addition to that team. Now moving on, we have another possible trade, and this time it is Deebo Samuel out of San Francisco. Notice how I said possible trade, because he's not getting traded. It's possible, but he won't. Nobody is going to want to pay this guy $15 million to come in, catch for 600 receiving yards, a couple touchdowns, and at some point get hurt just bad enough to miss 1 or 2 games. It has been a horseshit contract that they gave him since the moment they paid him, and they are going to be stuck with it. Moving on, next we have another trade that I think will happen, and this one is Cooper Kupp from the Rams. Now, there are a lot of teams that make sense for Cooper Kupp. I just have narrowed it down to 3 guesses. We'll go least likely to most likely, okay? So least likely, number 3, the Bills. That's a Brandon Beane move to make, dude. We know that we need a star receiver. Cooper Kupp's on the trade block. He is still really good. It's just that if the guy runs more than about 12 routes a game, he's gonna pull something. So as much as I like it, I don't think we have the talent to actually keep Cooper Kupp alive. Next team that I think would be a little bit more likely, the Chargers. For one, you got Ladd McConkey in front of you taking away majority of the dirty work, but for 2, this team is just run completely different than any other team with Jim. Certain games, they'll go out there and throw the ball 40 fucking times, and in other games, they throw it 20. If you're gonna have that kind of consistency with your passing, Cooper Kupp could definitely survive. And the most likely landing spot for me for Cooper Kupp, I think that makes the most sense, is the Houston Texans. I've mentioned that before, but that is his perfect workload right there. You got Tank Dell and Nico Collins. That's your 1 and 2. Cooper Kupp isn't going to be relied on every single drive, every single snap, but what he will do is be that extremely situational wide receiver 3 who you kind of forget about and then just jumps up out of nowhere for a monster play to burn your ass. That is going to be how you keep Cooper Kupp healthy, and that is how I think you are going to get the best utilization out of him at this stage in his career. Now, in order for him to get traded, I do believe one very important thing will have to happen though, and that is him taking an enormous pay cut. If I'm not mistaken, dude, his cap hit like the next 2 years is close to $30 million, which is nuts. Moving on to another receiver, we have Amari Cooper, Arizona. Look, Amari did not have a good year this year. It was probably the worst year I've ever seen him have. But that doesn't mean the guy is completely useless. It just means his 30 years of age are catching up to him, and much like Cooper Kupp, he needs to go somewhere where his role isn't going to be expected as much of him, like maybe Arizona. You got Trey McBride, you got Marvin Harrison, James Conner, Kyler Murray, who's got legs of his own if they ever decide to actually fucking use them. Like right now, their offense isn't bad, but imagine adding a veteran like Amari if it was for, you know, a cheap deal. You're not going to say no to that, and he'll probably have 5 touchdowns throughout the year that you're very happy you had him for. Keeping the receiver train going here, we move on to Chris Godwin. I think one of the most underrated names out there right now. Now, he is coming off of an injury, and the guy is about to turn 29 years old. But I think he's still got some juice in the tank, man. The guy has always been a number 2 to Mike Evans. He hasn't been getting smacked a ton his entire career. I'd be willing to bet this guy's going to be able to play at a decent level till he's 32, 33 years old. And this year, I have him signing a decent-sized contract to the New England Patriots. This is your chance, Chris. Take it. Even if it's not to the Patriots, I want to see Chris Godwin take his chance this year. I want to see him on a different team because I want to see him do well without having to constantly say is the addition to Mike Evans. He's an extremely talented receiver, an extremely hard worker. He's always been underrated, and I personally think him alongside Drake May could make for a very, very entertaining season. And ending this video with one final prediction. If you want to see a part 2 to this, just add comments of who you want to see me predict next. But we are going to end with Aaron Jones because I think he is going none other than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Makes sense for multiple reasons. For one, if the Steelers really are going to move on from Najee Harris, who is a guy I would love to predict in the next video, Aaron Jones is like an older, better version of Najee Harris. And I mean, it's kind of sad to say better, but I think he still is. Not a knock on Najee, just Aaron Jones is timeless. But Aaron Jones is also buddy-buddy with who I think is going to be their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Now, do I think they'll really get the band back together by getting Davante Adams? I'm not sure. I don't think George Pickens is enough to even get Davante Adams at this stage in his career, which is ridiculous to say. But I do think 2/3 of the band will be tuned back up with Mike Tomlin. And that is also going to be it, ladies and gentlemen, for my part 1 of free agency predictions. Like I said, for part 2, just give this video some love and let me know some names you'd like to see in the next video. In the meantime, I'm going to get this edited so you guys can all watch it on time, though. I hope you have a great Monday. If you're in Minnesota, enjoy the heat wave outside. This is crazy. It's only 40 degrees, but it's a 60-degree difference than a week ago. So, like, seriously, it is. But regardless of where you are, guys, as always, take care, and I will see you in the next upload.